Welcome. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, and this is your daily sigh of relief. Great big deep breath in. Oh, if you're an entrepreneur trying to keep up with what actually matters, this is for you. I go live every business day at 6 p.m. Eastern, and to the best of my abilities, I give you everything that you need in 15 minutes or less. My name is Qasim. If we haven't met, I'm a welfare baby turned self-made multimillionaire, and my goal in life is to help you achieve your definition of freedom. If you want the Daily Sigh delivered directly to your inbox, go to dailysigh.ai. Let's dive in. The top news story comes from TechBuzz. Anthropic integrates interactive workplace apps into Claude. Y'all, if you're not paying attention to Anthropic, you got to do it. They've established a foothold, I think, in the three most important, I don't know what to call them, categories of AI. They have AI chatbot, obviously with Claude. They're industry leaders in the space of security, which is probably the most important and least discussed facet of all of AI. And then vibe coding, in so many ways, if I can use the looser term. So pay attention. I think that they're soon to be launched IPO is going to be exciting. Why this matters. Anthropic is enabling pro and enterprise users to access tools like Slack, Figma, and Canva directly inside of the Claude chatbot. This is huge. What this means is we're looking at AI stealing not just clicks. AI is now stealing UI access. Imagine for a moment that you're Slack, or honestly, any of them, Slack, Figma, Canva. Your ability to access your user just decreased by whatever percentage people begin using this type of tool with and for. And my question for you, I had a fun podcast, or I was on Molly Pittman's mastermind this morning. And a question that came up on the mastermind had to do with agentic commerce and upsells. We were talking about agentic commerce and the fact that AI is going to be making purchases for people on their behalf. And that's only one problem. Another problem is so many merchants really bank on upsells, order bumps, and OTOs in order to actually make their money. Well, in the age of agentic commerce, what happens to upsells, order bumps, and OTOs? The likelihood of an agentified AI tool being susceptible to an upsell, I think, is pretty low unless it's perfectly aligned with what they were sent to purchase in the first place. And so take that and now cascade it across to this. Here, Anthropic is allowing for people to use Slack and Figma and Canva and other tools directly inside of the Claude user interface. So it's not that Slack or Canva or Figma aren't important. It's that they're no longer the seat of the relationship. So let's say Canva did have an upsell or a terms of service change, or a lot of the things that happen inside of the UI that is now more or less owned by Claude. And then the other question becomes, or the question I would have is, to what degree do these businesses or these corporations allow for this? Because it's a double-edged sword. It's like, if I allow for this integration, I'm more likely to maintain social integration, but if I don't, I'm more likely to lose it. So this is really interesting for me. This is leveraging what's called Open Model Context Protocol, MCP. If you're not familiar with MCP, I wasn't either. You gotta start paying attention to MCP, because this is the new MCP is the new API. It allows for integration without one-to-one exact read-write requirements. It's like it's the API integration for AI. Somebody who actually knows MCP, feel free to correct me on the babble I just offered. This is shifting as AI as a destination. So we were at AI as a destination. This is now shifting us to AI as an operating system. And when AI becomes the operating system, we're going to find ourselves in a screenless future. The better Claude does at utilizing Slack, Figma, Canva, and some of these other tools that Anthropic is making available, the less likely you're going to need to go to those tools or even look at a screen. The next big leap, I think, along this line is wearables. The minute I have a Claude pin and I can just talk to my Claude pin and say, oh, hey, do me a favor, send send my EA this message via Slack or whatever. Like now it's over. Slash and this is forcing the issue too. SaaS platforms are forced to choose: do they integrate via these open protocols, or do they risk being nullified in terms of value? So pay a lot of attention. If you're not using the tool, go play with it. It's super cool. It increases productivity, I think, pretty significantly, especially if you're heavy. I hate Slack. I despise it. And yet it's, I'm in, I don't know how many. So being able to kind of flatten Slack into an easier to utilize tool, I'm thrilled with. Next story comes from OpenAI. Cisco and OpenAI advanced enterprise engineering agents. That's gobbledygook. Love our buzzwords. Really, the reason I picked this one in particular is because OpenAI is working with Cisco to deploy agentic AI in what they're terming complex code bases to redefine enterprise engineering. I realize that that's not a small business story, but I think it's relevant for small businesses and entrepreneurs because it's signaling a shift towards AI agents that are not only understanding large repositories of information, but also executing on it autonomously. This is the type of thing that flows down. So watch up because it comes down. And this is also the type of thing that eats work. If you're an agency or in the agency space, I would be paying very close attention to what the Fortune 100 and honestly what the Fortune 1000 happen to be doing with agentified AI. Agentic AI is going to be what actually takes jobs. And you can be on the right side of that in a lot of ways. If you can figure out how to utilize agentic AI, you could actually be, part of the hub and spoke. So this is us moving past simple chatbots to agents that are capable of executing real autonomous workflows. And the other thing that I think is really interesting is this is, not great news for software engineers and the people that were doing this work prior to. Story number 3, landmark civil trial begins over social media addiction. Wall Street Journal reports jury selection has begun for a landmark trial where parents accuse Meta, TikTok, and YouTube of causing social media addiction and mental health issues in children, which I think we all know is probably pretty true. I mean, they more or less have published documentation as to how they used science in order to make these tools so addictive. This trial will serve as the proverbial bellwether for thousands of other pending lawsuits that could lead to massive regulatory shifts similar to those seen in the tobacco industry. Again, according to the Wall Street Journal, I will see. The thing that's really interesting here is these lobbies are so powerful. I think the swing back or the fight back is going to be really interesting too. There is a global trend of souring on social platforms, with countries like France, Australia, and the UK considering bans or strict regulations for minors. High agency founders must prepare for a future where traditional social media distribution is significantly more restricted or regulated. I think that's probably not quite as true. I don't know that I agree with that as much as I would start looking at niche social platforms. I think there could be a potential rise in the availability of something that's more specific to whatever context you happen to be traveling in. So let's pay attention to the lawsuit. Story 4 from the Morning Brew. Gold shatters $5,100 record amid geopolitical tension. Another way to read that might be the dollar is collapsing. Gold prices surged past $5,100 per ounce as investors sought a safe haven from geopolitical mayhem and fears of a government shutdown. Economic anxieties are fueled by potential 100% tariffs on Canada and market meltdowns in Japan. Investors are increasingly concerned with persistent inflation and unsustainable levels of government debt, obviously. The rally reflects a broader trend of capital moving away from stocks and bonds toward hard assets as a hedge against a hazy future. It's not just gold, by the way. If you pay attention, if you're a gold bug like I am, gold is, unprecedented levels. This is literally a historic high. Silver, too. Silver finally broke away. We've been talking about silver being artificially low forever. I checked this morning. I think silver is at 113. I think it got that high. Silver spot price. Gold as of right now is $5,200, y'all. Oh my gosh. This morning it was $5,100. That's amazing. It's $5,200. Silver is 111 at the time of this recording. It's funny because I have friends who say, and I think maybe I believe, that gold doesn't move. Gold is just the barometer that shows you how poorly the dollar is doing. And here we're seeing a pretty stark barometer. This is interesting. It's interesting to me because I'm not seeing a bunch of other asset classes moving like this. So we'll keep an eye on that. If you have any strong opinions, I'd love to know what you think about it inside of chat. Next story comes from Tech Buzz. Google's new user intent extraction for mobile AI. Google's research into user intent extraction suggests AI will soon automate tasks and anticipate user needs directly on mobile devices. Search is rapidly shifting from providing informational results to proactive, action-oriented task completion. Basically, Google is turning into an anticipatory engine. SEO and mobile experiences must now be optimized for direct AI completion rather than traditional search rankings. Y'all, again, going back to agentic AI, you're not going to get the users. Google's not just stealing clicks, it's stealing sessions, it's stealing engagement. And depending on the business that you're in, that could be catastrophically damaging. If you're an aggregator, if you're a proxy, if you're anywhere in the middle of the assembly line, if you're at the beginning or the end of an assembly line, you should be pretty safe. Right now, if you're in the middle, this is the type of story that says you're screwed. So I'd reevaluate your single points of failure here with great fervor. Some backup stories. TikTok's US-owned debut is already a mess, according to the rundown. TikTok is suffering from glitched feeds, stalled uploads, and vanishing posts following its shift to US control. Operational instability in a major platform creates immediate disruption risk for businesses relying on its viral momentum. All that to say, what we did with TikTok, I don't know, man. My opinion here is it was absolute, complete, total, epic bullshit. How can you claim free and open market when you take an application that's deployed in a free and open market and then you say, I don't like the way that you're doing this? I don't know. The whole thing, I think this bugs the daylights out of me as a rabid libertarian that hates other libertarians. You can't be a bastion for freedom and then inhibit that freedom when it suits you, which is apparently what we're doing now. According to Reuters, NVIDIA expands CoreWeave investments with $2 billion. NVIDIA invested an additional $2 billion in CoreWeave to accelerate the development of AI data centers. Why this matters for you: massive capital continues to flow into compute infrastructure, which means the cost of compute, I think, is going to increase. This is going to directly impact small businesses because, like all other things, this is an open market. And AI is hungry, and the food is about to get really expensive, basically, is the way that I look at this. Treasury cancels Booz Allen Hamilton contracts over leak. Also from the Morning Brew, the Treasury Secretary canceled $21 million in contracts with Booz Allen following a high-profile felony tax record leak. Data security and legal compliance are non-negotiable for service providers. This goes back to why I like Anthropic so much, and the fact that it's one of the few organizations that I think is treating AI security as something that is can be attended to. Everybody else just seems to be burying their head in the sand. Some closing insight. Today's notes reveal a heavy pivot from AI as a tool to AI as an agent, which we're going to see a lot more of. I'm excited to see what happens when wearables meet the fray. I hope this was helpful to you. If there's a story that I missed or something you think I should have talked about, feel free to hit me up in whatever platform you happen to be watching this. Just send me a message and I'll do my best. If you want the Daily Sigh delivered directly to your inbox, go to dailysigh.ai. Otherwise, I will see you same time tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Deep breath, sigh of relief. You are now caught up. I love you. I mean it. I shall talk to you later. Hasta la vista.